Okay, so this is going to be a more long-form tutorial that will go in depth about the different sorts of ways that you can mod RE Engine games. So this includes DMC5, Resident Evil 2, Resident Evil 3, Resident Evil Village, Resident Evil 7 kinda, but that has a caveat. Resident Evil 7 is a little weird, so proceed with caution if you do want to mod Resident Evil 7 for whatever reason. Okay, so you're going to be needing a few things. For starters, the thing that you, absolutely need is pretty much any RE Engine game. Like I said, DMC5, any of the newer Resident Evil games, that sort of thing. You can get them from Steam, you can get them from any CD key site, you can get it from the crack dealer behind your house. Doesn't matter where you get it, as long as you got the game, you're good to go. The next thing that you'll need is a list of the pack file names, because basically how the RE Engine games work is that all the files are stored in this pack, and they have a list of names, and if you try to extract them without that list of names, you're just going to get a bunch of numbers and shit like that, and you're not going to know where to look for things. After that, you're going to need a program called Noesis in order to view the files. You'll need a script in order to view RE Engine files, because Noesis can't natively view RE Engine files. And you'll need a 3D modeling program. In this case, we're going to be using Blender, because that's what I know. I personally think Max is dog water, because it sucks, and it's just got a cluttered interface, and Blender is easy and simple to understand. Optionally, you will also need a plugin for Blender that allows you to just skip the step from Noesis of exporting to FBX, but we'll get there when we get there. I'll show you how that'll work. So I'll leave a link to all the different things that you'll need, like the log file, the list log file, the RE tool. You'll need that as well in order to extract the files. The Noesis plugin, Noesis itself, Blender. You can use pretty much any version of Blender, but it's recommended that you use anything beyond 2.8. So go ahead and just download all of those files, and then once you're ready to continue, just keep continuing. You know, this is a video, you can pause it, okay? I'm not holding you hostage here. So once you're all ready to go, once you have everything all downloaded, extract it all to a place where you're going to remember where it is. I personally have a modding folder. I called it texture modding because I started out with texture modding, but now I pretty much do a little bit of everything. But I basically just have all the programs I need, my whips, stuff like that. So for now, I'm going to put it into the mod tutorial folder I made here. And I'm going to make a new folder, call it RE tool. And I'm going to extract it all over here. And then once you get the DMC5 pack names list, this is the newest one, by the way, because it did change a little over time, especially with the update to add Virgil into the game. So it's important that you have the newest version of the list. So I'm just going to copy that over into the RE tool folder. I'm going to remove this little one at the end. And before you start extracting, what you are going to want to do is you're going to want to select extract pack.bat. Edit it with anything. You can use Notepad or Notepad++. I just use Notepad++ because I prefer it. And you're going to want to change this line so that way it has the game that you want to use. So by default it says RE2, but if you're doing RE3, you change it to RE3 pack names, especially if that's the one that you downloaded. In our case, we're going to be doing DMC5, so just change it to DMC5 pack names, save. And then after that, you're going to want to go to your Steam directory where you have DMC5 saved. Go to DMC5, and then you are going to want to choose rechunk000.pack. And you're going to drag it over to extractpack.bat. It'll say open with extractpack.bat. And then this command prompt will open up, and it'll basically just start going through all of the different files. And it's going to take a long time for the base file. I'm going to stop this right now because I already have the files extracted, and I don't want to do that. And if you want the Virgil DLC stuff, do extract pack 5 right here. So just choose rechunk000 pack patch 5. Extract it same way that you would extract the other one. So once you're all done with that, now what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to find wherever you extracted Noesis to. So for me it would be here, Noesis, and you're going to want to go into Plugins, Python, and you're going to drag fmtremesh.py right here. And for me, I already have it, but I'm just copying it over so that way you guys know what, you're doing. And now you'll be able to view the DMC5 files in Noesis. In my case, I already know where pretty much everything is. That's like not even a flex. That is the worst thing to be able to know. But so for this tutorial, I'm going to be showing you how to modify a Dante model. So in that case, it would be PLO 100 Dante body. And if you just click on that, I have it set to open with no assist by default. You'll probably get a prompt that says open with which program. Just choose select more programs and find no assist. And if you just give it a second, you know, you can see the model. Oh, look at that. Wow, is Dante's body. He has no head. No head? But, yeah. So normally what you would do if you didn't download the Blender plugin is... Sorry, just give me a sec. I closed it. You would go to File, Export, and export it to FBX. Click Export, and it'll export to FBX. However, if you did install the Blender plugin, then you can totally skip just opening up no assist. You probably won't even need to touch it. And you can just open up Blender. So once you open up Blender, you'll be greeted with a screen that looks something like this. The picture on it might be a little different if you're using a different version of Blender, because I'm personally using 2.81. You can use up to 2.9 or 3.0. I just prefer 2.8 because that's what I know. You can just click off to the side. And real quick, let me just turn on the macro so that way you guys can see what I'm clicking and what I am doing. So I'm just going to press N to hide that menu off to the side. And a few things about Blender is that it is very heavily shortcut based. So you gotta remember a bunch of shortcuts in order to know, like, what to do. You can always, like, interact with the screen by using the mouse, but I personally prefer to use shortcuts. So if I just press A, that'll select everything. Press delete. That deletes everything. So after deleting all that stuff, what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to go to Preferences, we're going to want to go to Install, and we're going to want to go to wherever you downloaded the RE Engine plugin. So for me, it's going to be right there, the Blender RE Mesh No Assist Wrapper. And if you just refresh and I look for Community, right here. It won't be like selected by default for you, but like you just gotta select it and you gotta choose your no assist exe file path in order for it to properly work. If you don't set this, it won't be able to import the meshes for you. So for me, that would just be in my texture modding folder, no assist and no assist exe. And we're all good to go. And so from there, you can just go to import RE mesh. And you can choose which mesh you want to import. So in my case, I want to import a Dante mesh because that's what I'm going to be working with. So I am going to import his body model. So RE tool, RE chunk, natives, 64, character, layer, PLO 100. And there's the mesh. It'll take a second to convert the mesh from the RE format to FBX. But then it shows up just like that. So as you can see, I have the body mesh all imported, but I also imported the head in because the model that I'm working with does wrap around the neck, so I do want to be sure that his neck and his chest aren't clipping properly. This is an optional step, you don't need to do that, but I just personally did it because that's my preference. So before we start importing the mesh and getting into the nitty-gritty of things, let's start with just a few basic movement things that you need to know about using Blender. So Blender is optimally used with an actual mouse, not like a trackpad on a laptop. So you use the middle mouse button, just hold that down and click it in to just rotate the camera around. If you press shift and use the middle mouse button, you can pan the camera around. You can scroll up and down to zoom in and out respectively. Left click is to select, right click is to just open up any context menus. And the most important part is a numpad. If you don't have a numpad, you'll have to either simulate one or remap your keys on Blender to do it. But for the numpad, it lets you quickly change camera views, and it also lets you change between orthographic camera and perspective camera. So what perspective camera is basically what this looks like. It looks like, you know, there's a perspective, you can see how the background, the grid in the background slowly vanishes. That's perspective. If I press 5 on the numpad, it turns into an orthographic camera, which makes it look a lot more flat and even, and it's a lot easier to work with models in this way, in my opinion. So you just press numpad 5 to toggle between perspective and orthographic. By default, the camera for the viewport is always going to be set to perspective. If you use numpad 1, you'll be brought to orthographic front. So this is the front of the model. If you do numpad 3, you'll be brought to orthographic side. That's the side of the model, obviously. 7 is the top of the model, and 9 is the bottom of the model. And if you ever want to be brought to the behind of the model, let's say, you just press Control Numpad 1, and you'll be brought to the behind. Control Numpad 3 brings you to the other side. Numpad 7 brings you to the bottom. That's basically what you do in order to control the camera. You can also press Control and use the 4, 6, 2, and 8 to pan the camera around in orthographic view if you don't feel like using the mouse key. But those are your options for moving around. So I'm going to start by importing my model now, so that way we can get into the nitty-gritty of doing this tutorial. So I'm going to be using this suit model that I have. And as you can see, it's a bit smaller than Dante's model, which is not a problem. Also, if you do want to hide stuff, by the way, which is what I just did, just press H. If you want to unhide stuff, press Alt-H to unhide everything. I'm just going to press Control-Z to hide everything again, because I prefer to have it hidden. But, so what we're going to do now is we're going to resize the model so that way it fits better over Dante's body. So I'm just going to choose the model over here, and I'm just going to press Shift to select all the different sub-meshes for the model. Then I'm going to press Control and select the armature. And the shortcut for resizing stuff is S for scale or size. It's easy to remember the shortcuts often if you try to associate the letter that they use with a word. So in my case, I associate S with scale or size. So I'm just going to do that in order to just get it closer to his size. Yeah, and I'm going to press G to grab the model, and I'm going to press Y so that way it moves only along the Y-axis. And you can do this for all sorts of transformations. So, for example, if you want to move the model up, if you press G, Z, it'll move only along the Z-axis. If you press GX, it'll only move left and right along the X-axis. A thing to remember is X, Y, and Z. You learn these in school, pretty much in any middle school math class, but, X is left and right, Y is back and forth, and Z is up and down, so good to keep in mind. So, after that, what we're going to want to do is, I personally do this is totally optional, but it makes it easier for me to see the bones, which is what these triangles are. They're bones that allow you to move around the model. I'm going to set the display to stick, and I'm going to set them to be in front, so that way I can see them no matter what, so that way they aren't hidden behind any models. I'm going to select the armature. I'm going to choose this little drop-down menu up here, and this switches what mode that you are viewing your model or your armature in. And in this case, we're going to want to go into pose mode. And so once we're in pose mode, we're pretty much free to resize and scale the model as we please along these individual bones. So I'm going to grab the upper arm bone, and if I press R to rotate and Y, this will rotate it along the Y-axis and make it look like that. But it looks like that won't be good, so I'm going to grab the shoulder, I'm going to rotate that along the Y-axis, I'm going to make it sit just a little more relaxed, so that way it overlaps more closely with his jacket. That's basically what we're trying to do here, is we're trying to get the model that we want to import to be as close to the shape of the original RE Engine mesh as possible. So I'm going to keep doing that. So you can keep using the shortcuts that I taught you before. So, R to rotate along the Y-axis in that case. G to grab. I'm just going to show like that. And S to scale. And you can use this to your advantage in order to shape the mesh however you want to. And it doesn't have to be perfect, because we can make it perfect later. And even then, it still doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be close. So I'm just going to be time-lapsing through this and just doing my little process of reposing the model. So yeah. I'm just going to interject here real quick to show you guys something. If you do want to see how it looks as you're posing it up, you can just select a mesh, press H, just to be sure that the mesh looks okay. Because even when you're posing, it doesn't always look perfect, and sometimes you'll need to know where to make adjustments in terms of sizing, or later on when we get into that sculpting. So